Hare Krishna. What was the topic Friday evening?
Friday was Shabari.
Shabari. So, after Friday evening's topic was discussing about Ram's affection, kindness, mercy, and so forth in his relationship with Shabari, and we did a little character profile on Shabari, who she was, what her character was, the type of devotion that she had, the way that Ram reciprocated with her service mood to him and to Sage Matanga and so forth. Then starting Saturday evening, then Monday, Tuesday, now Wednesday evening, the theme has been Ram's encountering obstacles on the path of devotion, and by eliminating various demons, it indicated his effort to assist us in overcoming obstacles on the path of surrender and devotion to him. So we started with his entrance into the Dandak forest and meeting Virada. So the discussion was about Virada representing hypocrisy, the tendency for hypocrisy within us, or encountering those that are not true, but hypocrites in the devotional line, and Ram protecting certainly the sages in the Dandak forest, but also protecting us. Then next it wasn't exactly chronological, but Kara, Dushan, and Trishiras, that combat within Janastan. Each of those three representing a fault or a conditioned soul's tendency. One was blasphemy, Dushan, and Trishiras representing the threefold miseries, Adhyatmika, Adidaivika, Adibhautika, and Ram protects his devotees from that difficulty. Not that we'll never have a difficulty, but one's consciousness can be elevated beyond that difficulty. And the most stubborn of all, it was Kara, just like his name indicates, and false ego. So with some heroism back and forth, Ram defeated Kara. And chronological before that was yesterday evening, Shuparnaka, and her fault or her conditioned soul tendency was unrestricted lust. So she wasn't killed, but she was removed as an obstacle. Now we also discussed how her cunning nature resulted in the destruction of the whole Rakshasa dynasty, not only Ravan, but everybody. So she was willing to sacrifice everybody's everything for her wanton desire. We heard, according to Bhavishya Purana and one other scriptural reference, that while the battle was going on in Lanka, she went to, Shurpanaka went to Pushkar Tirtha, undergoing severe austerity. Specifically, it says she was engaged in meditation underwater for 1,000 years. She was, that's not an easy thing to do. And she was trying to appeal to Lord Shiva for a benediction. Lord Shiva appeared. She wanted to know if he would give her the benediction. of becoming married to Ram. And he said that won't be possible. But in the next yuga, towards the end of Dwarpa Yuga, you may appear as Kubja, and your desire will become satisfied. So according to those two scriptural references, Shurparnaka became the wife of Krishna in the next lifetime, or later on. Something that I wanted to mention but didn't, and that is we often hear the mistake, or the essence of the mistake, of Ravan was wanting to enjoy Sita without Ram, like one might want to enjoy Lakshmi without Narayan. And Shurparnaka was reverse. She wanted to enjoy Ram without Sita. So it's a mistake. It's a spiritual mistake. And besides, offensive, wanting to kill Sita, devour Sita, and so forth. Same with Lakshman, and then so this evening we're going to be discussing Kabandha. Now you have a picture of Ram because it's Ram Nomi, or you're Ram Bhaktas?
It's always there.
It's always there. Are you familiar with Ramayan?
Yeah.
Yeah? Not so much. Kabandha, do you recognize the name? Not really. So the meeting of Kabandha comes just shortly after finding Jatayu, and Jatayu sharing what happened, wanting to know where did Ravan go. At least he indicated for sure the direction, the southerly direction that he went, and so forth. It comes after that. They enter into forest. There's some other events. Ayomukhi, who we'll hear who she was, a demoness living in the forest. Lakshman dealt with her. And then Kabandha. And Kabandha exhibited and represents the quality of unrestricted eating or gluttony. And so for spiritual life, one has to control one's senses, and the tongue is most important to control. So the section is so nice that these parts of it I'm just going to read because it's well written. And the what I'm going to read from initially is Krishna Dharma, an ISKCON devotee, who mainly based his writing on Valmiki Ramayana, but also wove strains of the authentic Ramayanas within the text. And so where we're going to begin is Lakshman finds Ram in the forest, and he realizes what he knew was going to be the case, that Ram was fine, and the calling out of Ram, Sita, Lakshman, please help, was a trick. He saw what he saw. So they went back to Panchavati, and Sita was missing. And they saw that there was some struggle and so forth. And so Ram, they searched everywhere, couldn't find. He became disheartened. Lakshman said, let's search again. And they searched again. Maybe she's hiding. Couldn't find her. And he enters into a deep state of a mood of separation. It looks like an ordinary man's attachment, but it's not. And following that is where we're going to begin. So I'll just read a bit. As he checked his grief, Ram felt consumed by anger. The corners of his eyes turned coppery as he stood holding his bow. The Rakshasa race will soon be extinct. They have borne away Sita even as she practiced virtue. How did the gods stand by and allow this to happen? Do they not fear my wrath? Do they think I am powerless? For too long I have been mild and compassionate. Today the world will see a different Ram. Ram roared, giving vent to his anger. He would fill the heavens with his missiles. With his weapons, he would annihilate the entire creation. All living beings would find themselves oppressed as he discharged endless flaming arrows. The planets would be brought to a standstill, the sun obscured, and the moon brought down from the sky. The mountains would lie crushed to a powder, and the oceans would be dried up. If the gods did not bring back Sita, they would find no shelter anywhere in the universe. All the worlds would be torn to pieces by Ram's arrows, and nothing would remain. A blazing fire would rage through all quarters, leaving total devastation in its wake. Ram tightened his clothes, his lips trembled, and he pressed them against his teeth. He looked like Shiva, intent upon the destruction of the universe at the end of an age. Taking from his quiver a dreadful-looking arrow, he placed it upon his bow. Today I shall not be checked by conciliation or force. Now see, dear Lakshmana, as I bring down the gods from heaven. Lakshmana grabbed hold of Ram's arm and stopped him from releasing his arrow. With palms joined, he spoke gently to the infuriated Ram. You have always been dedicated to the good of all beings. Do not abandon your nature today, O Ram. Do not be swayed by anger. You should not destroy the worlds for one person's offense. Lords of this world are always just in their punishment. Therefore, display your forbearance, for it is as deep as that of the earth itself. Be calm and consider the situation with care. Lakshman pointed out that they could see only the footprints of a single Rakshasa. It appeared that someone had fought against the demon, probably to protect Sita. Whoever had abducted Sita was obviously possessed of great power. Perhaps no one was able to prevent the kidnapping. After all, who would approve of the destruction or kidnapping of Ram's spouse? The gods and Gandharvas, the rivers, seas, mountains, and indeed all living beings were not capable of giving offense to Ram, any more than the priests at a sacrifice could offend the person for whom they were performing the ritual. Ram felt slightly pacified as Lakshman continued. Let us seek out the assistance of the great sages. With me by your side, we shall search the whole earth with all its mountains and forests. If we still do not find Sita, we shall go to the depths of the ocean and up to the realms of the gods. O Ram, we shall not rest until we find your beloved wife. Lakshman suggested that if they did not find Sita, then Ram could let loose his venomous missiles upon the worlds. But first, he should control his anger and seek his wife through peaceful means. Otherwise, what example would he set for the world? If the earth's ruler immediately resorted to violence when under duress, then what would ordinary men do? Could they be expected to exercise any control when in distress? In this world, calamities visited everyone in due course of time, but they also disappeared again. Happiness and distress follow one another in swift succession. One should not give way to either. Even the gods were subject to suffering. One should neither rejoice nor grieve for material things, but with a peaceful mind carry out one's duties. This was the path of everlasting happiness. Lakshmana looked into Ram's eyes. O Ram, you have often instructed me in this way. Indeed, who can teach you? Even if he be Brihaspati himself, I'm only trying now to awaken your intelligence, which has been dulled by grief. Dear brother, people like you do not give way to grief, even when faced with the gravest perils. Therefore, spare the worlds. Seek out only the sinful adversary who has stolen Sita. Ram put down his bow and replaced his arrow in its quiver. He was moved by his brother's beautifully worded advice. Controlling his anger, he thanked Lakshman and asked him, what should they do next? Where should they begin to look? The two princes continued to walk south. So, commentary, not here but elsewhere, speaks of Lakshman's function being one of his functions is guru. He's taking that role in relation to Ramchandra. But just like in our line, Gaudiya line, Lord Nityananda is the same as Lakshman or Balaram, and those three, Nityananda, Balaram, Lakshman, they are the Guru Tattva principle. And so he plays that role or function in many cases, many cases in Ramayana. So here he's doing like this, giving like a Bhagavad Gita class to Lord Ramachandra. Then back to the Leela. The two princes continued to walk south, discussing what to do. As soon they came upon Jatayu, lying upon the ground. Seen from a distance, the mountainous bird drenched in blood, Ram exclaimed, Lakshman, here is a Rakshasa in the guise of a bird. Surely this beast has devoured Sita. I shall make short work of it with my fierce arrows. Ram fitted a razor-headed arrow to his bow and bounded toward Jatayu. But as soon as he recognized the great bird, he lowered his weapon. Jatayu, close to death, saw Ram coming and raised his head, vomiting blood. He spoke in a strained voice, "O Ram, the godly Sita and indeed my life have both been snatched away by Ravana. I flew to her assistance and fought with the demon. Although I smashed his chariot and killed his horses, I was finally cut down by him." Jatayu then described what had taken place. Upon hearing his story, Ram fell weeping to the ground. He embraced Jatayu and stroked his head. In great pain, Ram cried out, "Alas! Who is more unfortunate than I? My sovereignty is lost. I'm exiled. My wife is stolen. And now my father's friend, lies mortally wounded, having tried his best to help me. Ram continued questioning Jatayu. Where did Ravan take Sita? What did she say when she was being dragged away? How powerful was the Rakshasa, and where was his abode? Ram spoke wildly in a tearful voice. Jatayu looked at him fondly. Speaking in barely a whisper, he replied, The demon conjured up a storm as he flew in the sky. I contended with him. As I contended with him, I soon became exhausted, being old and worn out. He then lopped off my wings. He sped away with his face pointing south. The bird lay gasping. He reassured Ram that Sita would soon be found. The Rakshasa had kidnapped her at an hour which was favorable for her return. Although he knew it not, Jatayu said it was the Vinda hour. According to scripture, a treasure lost during that time is again recovered. Knowledgeable and auspicious timings of things. Jatayu told Ram that Ravana was the son of the sage Vishrava and the half-brother of Kuvera. Although he was immensely powerful, Ram would soon slay him. Jatayu was sure of it. As the old bird spoke, he felt his life departing. Blood flowing continuously from his mouth. He looked at Ram with tears in his eyes, repeating Ram's name over and over. Jatayu gradually became silent. His head fell to the ground and his body slumped back. Ram stood with folded hands, looking at his father's dear friend. He cried out in anguish, Speak more, O noble bird, speak more. But Jatayu was dead. Ram gazed at him sorrowfully. Turning to Lakshman, he said, Alas, this bird has laid down his life for my sake, dear brother. It is clear that valiant souls who practice piety and virtue are found even in the lower species of life and not just amongst humans. The pain of seeing this vulture's death afflicts me as much as that caused by Sita's loss. Ram considered Jatayu to be as worthy of his worship as Dasharath. He asked Lakshmana to fetch logs so that they could build a funeral pyre. Ram looked at the bird and said, You will attain unsurpassed realms of happiness, O king of birds. Never again will you take birth in this mortal world of pain and suffering. The brothers placed Jatayu on the woodpile and set it alight. Ram personally recited the sacred mantras and performed the ritual cremating Jatayu as he would his own relative. Both brothers then went to the Godavari and after bathing in the river offered its sacred water to Jatayu's departed soul. When the ritual was complete, Ram and Lakshman felt pleased, knowing that Jatayu had gone to divine regions of unending happiness. They fixed their minds on recovering Sita. Going in a southerly direction, they entered the deep forest, appearing like Vishnu and Indra, going out to encounter the Asuras. Lakshman went ahead, wielding his long sword, and hewing down the shrubs and creepers that blocked their progress. The forest was trackless and difficult to traverse, But the brothers moved swiftly. Distressed and eager to find Sita, they looked on all sides, but saw only the dense forest. Lions roared, and birds of prey screamed above them. Thick darkness enveloped them as they penetrated deeply into the jungle. So now there's a change of scene. They're searching for Sita, and now they encounter somebody that very much, by description here, resembles Shurparnaka. After going 6 miles beyond Janastan, the two energetic warriors enter the Krauncha forest, which was impenetrable. Desiring to find Sita, the two brothers, who were sorely distressed because of her abduction, searched for her here and there. After entering that forest, the two sons of King Dasara saw a cave that was always covered in darkness, and which was as deep as Patala. Not far from there, Ram and Lakshman saw a gigantic Rakshasi with a hideous face. She was terrifying for those who were not very brave, as well as horrible looking, big-bellied, sharp-toothed, threatening, and tough-skinned. She fed herself on fierce creatures, was haughty, and had scattered hair. Approaching the two warriors, she said to Lakshmana, who was walking in front of Ram, "Come, let us enjoy," and grabbed his hand. Embracing Lakshmana, she said to him, "I am called Ayomukhi, your new acquisition, and you are very dear to me. O valiant Lord, you will enjoy with me on these mountain peaks and sandy riverbanks for the rest of your life." It's a pretty quick marriage proposal. When Lakshmana had been spoken to in that way, he became angry, drew his sword, and chopped off her ears, nose, and breasts. As soon as her ears and nose were cut off, the hideous-looking Rakshasi began bellowing loudly and fled along the same path by which she had come. Next comes Kabandha. As they moved ahead vigorously and without fear, they began to perceive evil omens. Ram's left arm throbbed, and his mind became disturbed. Jackals howled, and crows emitted shrill cries. Ram said, "Be wary, O Lakshmana. These signs definitely indicate some imminent danger." Sure enough, even as he spoke, a loud noise suddenly resounded from ahead of them. It was deafening, and it filled the 4 quarters. Ram and Lakshman, with swords in hand, ran towards the sound. Here must be the demon responsible for taking Sita. They would soon dispatch him. Perhaps Sita was still there. The brothers raced ahead. They suddenly broke into a clearing and saw a colossal Rakshasa seated there, taller than the surrounding trees. The demon looked like a mountain peak. He had no neck or head, and his huge mouth was in his belly. The demon was dark blue in color and covered all over with sharp, bristling hair. At the top of his body was a single fearful eye, which blazed like fire. His long, pointed tongue darted in and out, licking his lips. His arms 8 miles long, and they drew toward him all kinds of animals as Ram and Lakshmana looked on. The Rakshasa devoured bears, tigers, and deer, which he crammed into his gaping mouth. He was a mammoth figure with his voice like thunder. His single eye was reddish-brown in color, resembling flaming fire, fixed to his chest. His eyelashes glowed. He had instant vision with massive fangs in his huge mouth. He was licking his lips. The terrific demon kept eating bears, lions, deer, and elephants, catching with both his arms, stretching up to 1 yoja is 8 miles. He stood rooted there with both his hands stretching, one yojana, pulling and pushing them. Now he obstructed the path of the two brothers. His arms encircled the area. The long-armed demon spread his hands and caught hold of Ram and Lakshman together by pressing them with all his force. The two mighty brothers, who wielded swords and strong bows, and whose bodies were of fiery splendor, became helpless, seized by the hands of Kabandha. Of the two heroes, Ram was not worried, but Lakshmana, being boyish and younger, was very much concerned and depressed. He said to Ram, "Oh, heroic Ram, see how helpless I am under the control of the demon. Set yourself free, leaving me alone by using me as an offering, giving me to this monster as an offering. You may run away happily. I think you will soon obtain Vaidehi, oh, sign of the Kukatstha dynasty." That's one of the previous kings, great warrior. "On getting the hereditary kingdom and ruling over it, you should always remember me." So the commentary speaks. This term used by Valmiki of his boyishness has several parts, not just he was the younger brother. He was heroic, but he didn't have very much experience in combat, and here they are in this very conflicted situation. And he had a lot of feeling for Jatayu. He recognized how much sacrifice Jatayu had made to help Ram, so he was adopting that same mood. Let me sacrifice myself for you. Ram replied, "Oh, valiant Lakshman, a hero like you should not get desperate." Meanwhile, the foremost of the demons, Kabandha, rumbling like thunder, questioned the brothers. "Who are you?" With bull-like shoulders, wielding big swords, bows, and arrows. "By coming to this place, you become my food. For what purpose have you come? What work do you have here?" "You have come at the right time, as I am hungry." Holding bows, arrows, and swords, and looking like bulls with pointed horns, "You have entered my mouth. It is impossible for you to live any more." Ram spoke. "Oh, Lakshmana, we've gone through one calamity to another without finding beloved Sita. Now we have landed into a terrible crisis, which will put an end to our own life. O tiger among men, see how powerful the might of time is for all beings. Just see yourself and myself afflicted with this great calamity." Then Ram recovered and got ready for battle. Kabandha became curious. "Why are you two outstanding warriors so quiet? Even though you can see that I'm hungry, By fate, your minds are confused, and you are destined to become my meal. Lakshmana gets heroic again. This lowly Rakshasa captured us very quickly in the beginning. Therefore, let us immediately cut off his big arms with our swords. The ability of this dangerous, huge-bodied Rakshasa lies in his arms. Having already conquered everyone else, he now wants to kill us, O monarch. The killing of persons incapable of defending themselves is repugnant to a king, like the butchering of animals in the performance of a sacrifice. Kabandha heard. He became furious. He opened his mouth wide. And as he was attempting to pop the two into his mouth, he released them. Knowing how to act according to time and place, the two princes used their swords to chop off Kabandha's arms at the shoulders, as if they were trunks of a banana tree. Lord Ram, who was on Kabandha's right, cut off his right arm with his sword. Lakshmana, who was on his left, forcibly cut off his left arm. When his long arms were severed, the gigantic monster fell to the ground and started to groan. It shook the earth and filled the sky in all directions. Seeing his arms cut off, his body drenched with blood in distress, he asked the two warriors, "Who are you?" Lakshmana spoke, giving their background: sons of Dasarath in search of Sita. When Kabandha heard this, he became very pleased, remembering an assurance given to him by Indra. He then answered Lakshmana, "Welcome, O tigers among men. It is my good fortune that I am seeing you, and fortunately these arms that were the cause of my bondage have now been cut off. Previously, I had an inconceivable form endowed with tremendous strength and prowess and beauty, and was renowned throughout the three worlds. However, assuming a gigantic form as a Rakshasa, I used to go around here and there and frightening the sages who dwelled in the wilderness. It so happened that a great sage named Stola Shira became angry with me. I once attacked him in the form of a Rakshasa when he was gathering produce from the forest. When he saw me, he uttered the following horrible curse: "Oh, let this cruel and contemptible form of yours be your actual identity." When he was cursed, he pleaded for forgiveness or lightening the sentence. And the sage replied, "When Ram severs your arms and cremates your body in this desolate wilderness, you will regain your original large and handsome form. O Lakshmana, know me to be the son of the glorious Danu. I achieved this present form as a deformed monster on the battlefield in the following way. After I had been cursed to be a Rakshasa, I performed great austerities to please Lord Brahma. He granted me the boon of a long life. Because of that boon, I became puffed up, thinking, since I'm blessed to have a long life, what can Indra do to me? Based on this, I initiated a fight with Indra on a battlefield. when he hurled this thunderbolt with 100 limbs at me, it pushed my head and legs into my body. Although I begged him to send me to the court of the Lord of Death, he did not do so. Instead, he replied, "Let Brahma's boon that you have a long life be fulfilled." Then I replied, "By the impact of your thunderbolt, my legs, head, and mouth have been destroyed. How will I be able to live for a long time without any food?" Indra thereafter made my arms 8 miles long and put a mouth with sharp fangs on my belly. With these long arms I used to throw lions, leopards, deer, tigers that roamed all over the forest into my mouth to eat. Indra said to me, "When Ram and Lakshman cut off your arms in a fight, you will ascend to heaven." So it's twice he's been told by the sage and now by Indra. I used to grab every living creature that I saw in the jungle, thinking that you would thus come into my grasp. Bearing this in mind, I have striven to rid myself of this body in that way. You are that same Ram. Bless you. I cannot be killed by anyone else. That fact was stated by the sage. When you have purified me with fire, I shall give you some advice and indicate an ally who can help you. Ram replied, Lakshman's listening. My famous wife Sita was easily kidnapped by Ravan while I was away from Janastan with my brother Lakshmana. I only know that Rakshasa's name, but not his appearance, nor do we know where he lives or what is his strength. Now there's a little commentary. Ram is dealing diplomatically or with suspicion about Kabandha. Because he said, I can tell you, but he's using diplomacy. What if this demon, when reduced to ashes, doesn't say anything? And then Kabandha is thinking, what if I give Sugriva's name now, before they burn me, and knowing the name of Sugriva, they take off and I'm stuck in this body. So he spoke like this. As long as I'm covered by this demon's body, ignorance is going to cover my real intelligence, so I won't be able to help you appropriately. So please put me in a pit, build a fire, destroy this body, and then my intelligence will be uncovered and I'll be able to share everything with you. So it's kind of like, let's make a deal. They're both not fully trusting one another. As long as I'm not cremated, I am unable to know anything about the mighty Rakshasa who kidnapped your Sita. My intuitive foresight was nullified by the effects of the curse. By my own doing I received this form, which is condemned by the whole world. Therefore throw me in a pit, burn me in accordance with scriptural rules before sunset. After that I will tell you who can inform you about the Rakshasa. You should make friends with that person of just actions, for he will help you. There is nothing he does not know in all the 3 worlds, for in the past, for some reason or other, he visited all the different worlds. So Sugriva had powers, and he had been, later, it comes out again later, when the Vanras are being dispatched in different directions, he gives details and details and details, and Ram goes, how did you know all those details? They've been everywhere. So they put him in the cave, set the cave, the body of Kabandha on fire. It looked like a huge lump of butter because it was fat. And after some time, the celestial body arose from the fire. A mighty body dressed in spotless garments, a shimmering garland of flowers. His limbs were decorated with gold bands, and he was very effulgent. All of a sudden, he flew up from the funeral pyre, taking a seat on a brilliant aerial vehicle drawn by swans. He illuminated the 10 directions with his tremendous splendor. While situated in the air, Kabandha spoke to Ram. Ram, here is how you can actually regain Sita. Then he gives some diplomacy words. There are 6 means by which things can be achieved in this world. One who has fallen into adversity can be helped by another who is in adversity. And it goes through these. That's the main principle he emphasized. Commentary says it's like this, like the art of war. You make peace, you make war, you make concessions, and so forth. But what he's pointing to, you and Lakshman have fallen into a tribulation, in that you have lost your kingdom. Because of that calamity, you have now suffered the loss of your wife. Therefore, you should make an alliance with someone who is undergoing the same difficulties. After due consideration, I do not see how you can have any success without doing this. There is a monkey named Sugriva. He has been banished from the kingdom in a fit of anger by his brother Vali, the son of Indra. He lives with 4 other monkeys on Rishimukh mountain, which skirts beautiful Lake Pampa. That monkey chieftain is most heroic. He is energetic, immeasurable in effulgence, true to his promise, well-behaved, determined, intelligent, big, talented, bold, effulgent, very strong and capable. He was exiled by his powerful brother. He will certainly be a helpful friend to you in your search for Sita. Do not lament. That which is supposed to happen cannot be stopped by any means. It is impossible to escape that course of destiny. Immediately leave this place and go to that mighty Sugriva to make friends with him. Establish friendship with him before a blazing fire as the witness without any malice. Sugriva should not be disrespected because he is a Vanara king. He can take any form at will. He is in need of your help, although he is very strong. Indeed, you too are capable of helping him achieve his desired goal. Whether or not he achieves his goal, though, he will help you achieve yours. Born of Riksharaj, he is the offspring of the sun god. Now, Riksharaj commonly is used as a name for Jambavan, the king of the bears. But this is another Riksharaj. Riksharaj, who was the husband of the woman who was the mother of Sugriva. Yeah. So, and Sugriva, the father, was the sun god. So going back to Balakanda, when the sacrifices being performed for Dasrath to have sons, Rishishringa was doing the yagya. The demigods had a little demigod conference, and they appealed to Brahma to help relieve them of the burden of Ravana, because he had given a boon that was making him, they couldn't do anything because of his boon. So Vishnu said he would appear, and instructions were given by Brahma that the demigod should create children within the society of animals and so forth, and they should endow them with mystic powers and so on and so on. So that's the background of Surya becoming the father of Sugriva, and similarly Indra the father of Bali. He developed enmity with Bali and is roaming about the banks of Pampa, suspecting danger from Bali. Quickly, go to Rishimukh mountain, lay down your weapons, and establish friendship with the monkey Sugriva by a solemn oath. Indeed, that exceptional monkey knows all the places where the man-eating Rakshasas live in this world because of his cleverness. In fact, there's nothing he does not know in this world. For as long as the 1,000-rayed sun continues to shine, he will search for your wife with his monkeys at rivers, mountains, precipices, and caves. He will send large-bodied monkeys to look everywhere for Sita, who is lamenting due to separation from you. He will discover that place where Ravana is keeping the faultless Sita, regardless of whether she is on top of Mount Meru or in the depths of the underworld Patala. That best of monkeys will enter that place, slay the Rakshasas, and return to you, your beloved Sita. We're almost done. Commentary says, why didn't he said Bali's stronger, why didn't he ask for Bali's help or suggest Bali's help? That would be a natural kind of question. And there's two answers given by commentators. One is, already it was shown, because it's part of earlier parts of Ramayana, Bali was more powerful than Ravan. There's details of how that took place. But he didn't have a service mood. It was all about himself. And he was not in the position, in the mood of being a servant of anybody, including Ram. But another explanation is that Hanuman's going to Sita in the mood of one carrying the message of Ram, like a guru carries the message of Bhagavan, and helping Sita be pacified and calmed and convinced that Ram would come to rescue her. That part was needed, and Hanuman was the minister of Sugriva, so Sugriva was the right one. That's the commentator's explanation of why Sugriva instead of Vali. O Ram, the delightful path going westward is auspicious for you, gives details of how to find Rishimukh mountain. Passing over that wonderful land from mountain to mountain and from forest to forest, you will come to the lotus lake called Pampa. The peaceful disciples of the sage Matanga used to live there. When they were under the burden of bringing forest products for their spiritual master, their bodily perspiration began falling on the ground. By dint of their austerities, those drops of perspiration became flowers. Because these flowers sprung from their perspiration, they never perish. O Ram, even now, Their attendant, Shabari, an old ascetic, is living there, though others have long ago left. Only after seeing you, who is equal to God, honored by the whole world and firmly situated in righteousness, will she be able to go to the spiritual world. You will see the hidden and unequaled hermitage of the sage Matanga on the western bank of Lake Pampa. Forest animals of prey cannot enter that hermitage because of the sage's spiritual power. The forest is known as Matangavana. On the eastern side of Lake Pampa is the Rishamukh mountain. Its trees are always in bloom, and it is very difficult to ascend. It is guarded on all sides by young elephants and is magnanimous. It was created in the past by Lord Brahma. But the impassable nature of the mountain was made easy because Hanuman could put them on his shoulders and jump up the mountain. After instructing Ram and Lakshman, Kabandha continued to shine in the sky. Rama and Lakshmana, who were about to leave, said to Kabandha, who remained fixed in the sky, "You may go." Kabandha replied, "Go, accomplish your purpose, establish friendship with Sugriva." So it looked like a big problem, Kabandha, but it turns out he ended up doing some nice service. Power without a pure heart made him proud, and his pride resulted in offense, and then another offense, and big predicament. And the only way out was Ram's mercy. But in between, his feature of uncontrolled hunger and gluttony was his downfall. And so the arms, however long they may be, are for gathering sense objects for the materialist. And so it's not that we have to cut off our arms or our instruments for gathering objects, but the purpose of gathering those objects for a life of devotion is not for gluttony or enjoyment of the senses of any kind, but for service to the personality of Godhead. And he was returned to that position by the mercy of Lord Ramachandra and Lakshmana. So it's a little odd, in one sense, reading through this, because one has gotten used to it's Ram, Lakshmana, and Sita, but there's no Sita for the time being. It's odd. Searching for Sita. But by the virtue of the one of the themes that we've been discussing, it starts way back from his first entering the forest and continues, that this series of meeting great sages, getting benedictions from them, going forward, meeting some obstacle, some demon, killing the demon, the obstacle, getting further benediction from additional sages, and then repeat and repeat and repeat. As in a life of progressive devotion, there's always going to be some obstacles. The primary obstacles are our own impurities that are within us, not something outside. It looks like something outside is the problem, But the real problem is something inside. So this is how our commentators explain Ram's destroying the demons is an expression of Ram's willingness to destroy our own inner obstacles of different descriptions. And even just hearing the pastimes has that potency. It's designed that way. Sound vibration can cleanse the heart. So tomorrow's Ram Navami. We've been spending like the whole week just getting ready for it, and tomorrow's the big day. So we're going to have to do our, like we're doing here, the social distancing event. It won't be like the normal Ram Navami event, including in India. I don't know if you've seen, somebody sent me pictures of Tirupati, like 18 pictures. And it's empty and empty and empty and empty and empty and empty. Empty, everywhere empty. I mean, a priest sometimes walking over here, but otherwise everything is empty. But he's just like one solitary priest going. And Mayapur, empty. Photos on the Mayapur website, totally empty. So I don't know what's going to happen in India on Ram Navami. It's already, probably the morning of Ram Navami already. So people have to have their social distancing Ram Navami at their home. Like we will be doing here. So any discussion? Or thoughts on all of this?
Yeah, it's really great hearing you, Maharaj, and especially
just reading.
Yeah, still.
Yeah.
I mean, the thoughts. I mean, at least what I infer is that there are different obstacles at the same time. There are boons coming in.
Yes.
And then and most of these obstacles are just within us.
Yes.
And then it's by mercy of Lord Ram we could get through those obstacles.
Yes.
If we are in the mood of service.
You got it. You put it all together very nicely, concisely.
Thank you.
Something from online.
Okay.
This is from Mansi Ganga Mataji. Actually, she posted this question in the noon itself, like for the class. So, just like Lord Brahma, is Hanuman a post with a finite life, as we see pictures of Hanuman as aging and old?
She wants to know, does he get old? Is that her question?
Is it a post like Brahma?
Is it a post like Brahma? No.
She sees.
No,
Hanuman
there's not different
become-
persons occupied the post of Hanuman. He's the person. Eternal associate. Like Arjuna is not a post. Arjuna is a person.
Okay. And then her next question is, how come Suparnaka got Krishna's mercy when she was desiring Lord Rama?
Well, he accepted. It's the nature of the personality of Godhead. He accepts the mood of service. Now, in her case, it wasn't entirely mood of service. It was lust. But he was the object of her lust, and so there was some interest to be in his association, and so he accepted that. And obviously, she had to become purified before she became eligible. So it's the mercy of the Supreme Lord and the desire of the individual to be connected with Him, even the intention is not so pure. Initially, she eventually became pure.
And Sandhya Mataji, her question is about meditation under the water, like Sobari Muni and Suparnaka also.
Yeah.
So we can only understand it theoretically. How to understand factually?
Well, you have to meditate underwater if you guess you do it factually. But it's a process. The prachetas are others that did the same thing. It's a no cheating meditation that where life air is suspended, and no, if you're underwater, obviously life air is suspended. Otherwise, you're dead. So it's one way of doing meditation where the principle. You can't just like jump in the water and sit and do meditation. One has to become perfect in the pranayama system to the point where the incoming and outgoing air is suspended, as is described in chapter 6. And when one becomes proficient like that, one can do that. You can be anywhere.
And her next question is, where in this universe Hanuman is residing? Because we have the story in which Bhima encounters him while going in search of some special kind of flower that Draupadi requested him to get.
How that connect with Mahabharata, I don't know, but at the very beginning of the whole section Recovering in the Morning, Canto 5, Chapter 19, starting with text 2, it says that he's situated in Kim Purushavarsha, which is just north of the Himalayan mountain range, where south of the Himalayan mountain range is Bharatvarsha, and north is Kimpurusha and that's where he resides, on Bhumandala. But it's not, the depiction of Bhumandala is not, it's not a one-to-one correlation with Bhugola, or the round earth. It's Bhumandala. It's the universal form. With the central region of the middle planetary systems, plural, that's Bhumandala. So there's a whole long explanation to it. What's Bhumandala and how does elaborate. So how Bhima met Hanuman. I guess Hanuman can go from Kimpurusha Varsha to Bharatvarsha because he has powers. He can go wherever he likes. That's one possible explanation, but that's where Hanuman resides. Kimpurusha Varsha in Bhumandala.
And this question is from Kalpataru Mataji. After learning NOI, Nectar of
After
Instruction.
learning what?
After learning Nectar of Instruction,
Okay.
I see Arjuna as Uttamadhikari. Is my understanding correct?
Arjuna?
Arjuna.
Well, he's eternally, not just Uttamadhikari, he's Nitya Siddha.
Yeah.
He's eternally perfect person. He's eternal associate of Krishna.
If it is so, in one of the SP classes, you mentioned about Arjuna being Jiva Tattva appearing in multiple places.
Yeah.
So, as mentioned in the Shastra, that living entity gets birth according to his or her karma.
But Arjuna doesn't have karma, he's an eternal associate.
So, her question is, a Uttamadhikari after getting birth according to his karma, can he also appear with Krishna simultaneously?
Oh.
And can get it out of cycle of birth and death.
But that's an interesting speculation. Just go the straight path to go back to Godhead. Become purified and become a recipient of mercy. and you go back to Godhead. This other is a little, it's interesting question. It's not so practical. Practical is follow the bhakti process, become purified, receive Krishna's mercy, and go to Krishna. I mean, just like Jatayu, he went to Krishna. He went to, saying Ram's name from at the time of death. He went to the spiritual world. So just become absorbed in thought, remembrance of the personality of Godhead. You go to the spiritual world.
Next question is from Aditya. Lingaraja Prabhu's son, we went yesterday. Does a demon like Ravana come under the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra? Or can it classify it to be one of them?
Is Ravana one of those four? Well,
Any demon come into the classification?
huh?
Are any of the demons coming to those classifications?
Well, by birth he was one thing. He was the son of a Brahmin. By his position, social position, he was a king. And by character, he was none of the above. He was a demon. So the above, those persons in those positions, they're aligning themselves to it's Daivi Varnashram, aligning themselves to satisfy Vishnu. So he's off the charts. He's not even a human being, what to speak of within the Varnashram system. But by social position, he was a Kshatriya. By birth, he was a Brahmana. And by character, he was subhuman.
And this question is from Shari Mataji. By the touch of Lord Rama's feet, Ahalya came out of her curse immediately. But Kabandha, even after touching and grabbing both Rama and Lakshmana in his hands, he did not realize Lord Rama's divinity. Instead, he talked in diplomatic ways to get out of his curse. So how to understand this?
Well, we discussed that when we were speaking about Viradha grasping Sita in his hand. Now, how is that possible, and why didn't he become purified by grasping Sita in his hand? When later Ram touched his neck with his foot and he became purified. And the answer that was given by our acharyas is Sita produced or yielded a Maya Sita. And, that's one explanation. Kabandha, someone let's just say Jarasandha or Shishupal or any of Krishna's associates, they also had direct association with him. Duryodhana had direct association with Krishna, and they didn't have a clue. With Ahalya, she was an exalted personality. And just by the touch of Ram's foot, the curse that she was under was gone. But, these other personalities, they're very covered. Like Kaliya serpent. When the serpent that was swallowing Nanda Maharaj, Krishna just touched the head of that serpent and immediately became transformed. And Kaliya was so bad, so contaminated. Krishna was dancing and dancing and dancing and dancing and dancing and smashing and smashing and smashing. took a lot of touching Krishna's feet for him to become purified. Eventually he became purified, but he was totally smashed. So covering can be thicker. Krishna can make himself not fully accessible, and so forth.
This question is from Sanchari Mataji. In the previous yugas, which are considered to be more pious and pure, it seems strange that there were these contaminations of mind and heart. Have these contaminations always been present from the beginning of the material universe, and it's just being more and more normalized as the time moves forward?
Yes.
Or is it something created according to the
Well,
characteristics?
let's go right back to the very, very beginning of creation, where Madhu and Kaitaba tried to steal the Vedas. That's like before there was even planets. So, the number, anyway, it's since time immemorial. Demoniac nature, divine and demoniac nature. And yes, it's now become more normalized, but it's also become more puny.
And this question is from Prakash Narayan Govindan Prabhu. Jada's sacrifice was ultimate. He gave up his life for Lord Ramchandra. Even Lakshmana did not get to do that. Jada's position is so elevated that Lord Rama performed his rites even though he could perform his own father Dasratha. He could not perform his own father Dasratha. Is Jatayu an eternal associate of the Lord like Hanuman and Nitisiddha?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. I don't have that impression, but I don't know anything authoritative to say one way or the other.
And this question is from Krishnachna Mataji. Hi Krishna Guru Maharaj, what qualities does demons like Kara and Dushan and Ravana indicate?
What qualities do they indicate?
I think
The fault, the
faults
defect?
that is significant.
Okay, you can listen to the detail of 2 evenings ago class where Kara is the embodiment of false ego, and Dushan is the embodiment of blasphemy, and Ravana is the antagonism against the personality of Godhead. Like a dharma personified. The sum total of all atheistic and thus unholy ways of life. He's the king of adharma.
And final question, Govinda Mohini Mataji, 2 more questions. How was Suparnaka killed? And we never heard of her. There was no mention, although we heard of Ravana, Kumbhakarna, etc. How was Suparnaka killed?
How was she killed?
Yeah.
We don't know. I don't know. Don't know. But if she comes across it somewhere, let me know.
And this question is from Anirudh, the little one we met yesterday. Anirudh. Why Kalki came on a horse when Krishna can run faster anyway?
It's pastime. He likes riding horses. He's giving some service to the horse to carry him. He doesn't need a horse. He's right, he doesn't need a horse. But he's giving some service to the horse.
He was insisting to ask the question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
And this is from Nandakishore, Vrindavan Prabhu's son. Why was Lord Rama saying why gods are allowing this to happen regarding Mother Sita's kidnapping? Like Rama was saying.
Ram is playing the role of a king. And the kings have regard for greater beings, including the demigods. So his statement was, these greater beings in the universe, how is it possible they could allow Sita to be kidnapped? What's wrong with them? How could they permit that? And the answer, part of the answer that was given is, must be that this person was more powerful than the demigods, and so they were unable to do anything. He was more powerful because of the benediction given by Brahma that they couldn't do anything to stop him. So they didn't do anything because they couldn't do anything. Okay? Yeah, good.
Maharaj, we have different kinds of yoga that people get into, like karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti yoga process. But why is it not many people can get into bhakti yoga?
Why is it not what?
Why is it not people can get into bhakti yoga? Not many people are not getting there.
That's not new. That's from Bhagavad Gita. It's standard.
Yeah, and how can we be focused in the bhakti yoga process?
You?
Yeah.
Or me or us?
Me and in general.
Okay.
Me and
How can we be focused? Effort and mercy. We can try, but our effort alone is not sufficient, and we need mercy, but mercy without effort is not going to make things happen. So, strive by right means, as Krishna's language in Bhagavad Gita. Strive by right means. We make some effort, properly guided effort, and a lot of mercy. And then we can make nice progress in the bhakti process. Those are the two things, effort and mercy. Strive by right means, descending mercy. Calling out to Krishna, that's the mercy. And then the practice, strive to become clear what it means to be advanced in devotion or to know Krishna or whatever. Have clarity of what the goal is, and strive by right means to reach the goal, depending on descending mercy to get you there. In other words, not just depending upon effort. That's false ego. Kartaham, I'm the doer. So you won't get there by false ego and lots of effort, but effort and mercy. Anything?